What makes a game great? Is it intensity? Is it adventure? Creativity? Does a great game reward you for your efforts at the end of your journey? Will it satisfy your unquenchable thirst for efficient automation?
We've got a lot of work to do. Are you ready? From the printing press and the industrial loom to 3D printers and artificial intelligence. Since the dawn of critical thinking, humans have been looking for new ways to make the monotonous effortless, searching for these solutions of grandeur. Striving to innovate and invent new ways of saving time across the board seems to elevate the human experience in some unexplainable fashion. If you've ever found yourself in the gamer guy engineering student side of YouTube, this passion-laden allure is self-explanatory. Automation has changed society countless times over, but instills reasonable fears. With the introduction of the Ford Motor Company Model T, many were fearful of coming change. The masses toiled over the tens of thousands of street sweepers and stable hands who would lose their jobs as horses were phased out in favor of the new gas-guzzling automobiles. But they had no idea how many people those assembly lines would go on to employ, or what the automobile would do for the world. Yes, automation can be terrifying, but it's the only way to a better and brighter future. You're probably pretty confused considering that this is a video about an early access sandbox game, so I'll get to the point. Our world is ever-changing, heavily due in part to advances in automation. Far into the future, technocratic societies governed by corporations dominate the expanse of space, and most of the work is done by machines and fully automatic factories that require very little human intervention. Subsequently, the quality of life is significantly improved for almost everyone. Almost. You are one of the unlucky few, and as an indentured employee of the Fixit Corporation, you're tasked with building the very machines that keep the interplanetary infrastructure up and running. Welcome to Massage 2ABB, your home and workplace for the foreseeable future. And this is the story of Satisfactory. Satisfactory takes a very simple concept, one that has inspired one of the most legendary Minecraft mods of all time, a concept that has been attempted for numerous titles over the past 2 decades, and perfected it. While it's not exactly a God of War or a Dark Souls game, or whatever this is, and believe it or not, made by the same people who brought you this. When it finally leaves early access, I would be appalled if it didn't win Game of the Year. Let's face it, watching an ex-high school debate team captain play Factorio while discussing the ethics of cancel culture is very entertaining. Nothing beats Satisfactory. If you've never seen or heard of this game before, you still might not understand what it even is or why it's so important. So I'll start from the very beginning. Satisfactory poses to you a wide variety of problems you'll need to thoroughly consider and overcome in order to achieve the main presented goal of the game. I say presented because, above all, it is a sandbox game, which means you can really do whatever you want. Ultimately, it's both a test of and a medium for creative problem solving. But anyway, the main goal of the game is simple. Fixit tasks you with Project Assembly, which is a fancy name for building and then supplying multiple stages of a massive space elevator. Okay, in retrospect, not so simple, but let's try and figure this out. To complete all stages of Project Assembly, we need 500 modular engines, 3,000 versatile frameworks, 4,000 magnetic field generators, assembly director system, nuclear pasta. You know what? I think we're approaching this all wrong. Let's start here. To complete the first stage of project assembly, we only need 50 smart plates. Well, that seems manageable. Okay, from the top. This is a portable miner, a new employee's best friend. This beautiful little device will mine resources for you, even while you're away crafting at the hub. And if you've been paying attention to your company-mandated personal AI,
I am Ada, also known as Artificial Directory and Assistant.
You'll be doing a lot of crafting, at least for now. After making yourself some cables and wire from copper, some iron plates and rods from, you guessed it, iron, you can begin to streamline the crafting process by having all of your ore smelted automatically. But moving things from machine to machine by hand is tiresome, so invest some of your materials at the hub to achieve a few milestones, which will unlock some invaluable technologies like the Mark I miner and some basic logistical tools. Milestones are pretty important, and it won't be until your factory looks like this that you realize how badly you needed foundations and conveyor supports. Over the first few hours of your playthrough, you'll probably find yourself doing a lot of crafting. For some milestones, especially earlier on, it actually takes less time to craft all of the necessary parts by hand than it would to automate their production. And you'll often be confronted with situations where you feel almost compelled by the game itself to forego automating in favor of just crafting what you need to get the hell along with your life. Now this is interesting, and it's not immediately obvious as to why, but anyone who's played the game before for more than 2 hours knows where I'm going with this. It's misdirection. Yes, the developers are lying to you. Crafting in Satisfactory is a massive red herring. While in the very early stages of the game, I'm talking like the first 10 minutes,
It's really more like 90 minutes.
crafting is technically necessary to progress. Following that, any time you spend crafting is wasted time. To put it bluntly, the best way to succeed long-term and actually have fun playing this game is to automate absolutely everything as soon as possible and rely on crafting as little as possible. Now you may be asking, why? Why would the developers of Goat Simulator and Goat Simulator 3 be teaching me the game wrong? You see, the entire point of Satisfactory is to teach you how to problem solve by forcing you to teach yourself. Rather than tell you how to be efficient, the developers want you to come to that conclusion on your own. They want you to fail, or at least fail to be effective, so that you feel challenged to find a better solution. And this is why it's so addicting. The only hand-holding that Satisfactory does is providing you with milestones to unlock technologies. Everything else in this game, from the exploration elements to the research trees, it's all just there, little to no instruction. It's up to you to figure it out. In some sense, I suppose I've spoiled the game's biggest secret, but rest assured, there's plenty more mystery for you to uncover.
I strongly advise you to harvest this specimen.
Now that we have a basic understanding of automation in Satisfactory, we can finally try our hand at making those smart plates. So, to make smart plates at a manageable scale for early game, we start with the most fundamental of materials, iron. Let's say we have access to the equivalent of 150 iron ore per minute, in relatively close proximity to our home base. Depending on the node, ore per minute may vary, so let's just assume that we have access to 5 impure iron nodes, which each provide 30 ore per minute. With smelters, iron ore to iron ingots is a 1-to-1 ratio, so with every 1 iron ore, a smelter can make 1 iron ingot. But smelters can only make 30 iron ingots a minute, so we'll need 5 smelters. Let's take a look back at smart plates. Smart plates are crafted in an assembler and cost 2 rotors and 2 reinforced iron plates per minute to function at 100% efficiency. Let's see if we can have 3 assemblers running at the same time, rendering us 6 smart plates a minute. If we do the simple math, that's 6 rotors and 6 reinforced iron plates that we need to be making a minute. Rotors are made from iron rods and screws, which are also made from rods. Reinforced iron plates are made from standard iron plates and screws. Unlike the beautiful 1-to-1 ratio there is for ore to ingots, every other recipe in the game has unique input to output ratio, which means we need to do a lot of math. And oh my god, this game is a built-in calculator? Thank you, Coffee Stain! To make 6 reinforced plates and 6 rotors a minute, we need 2 constructors to make iron plates, about 40 a minute from an input of 60 ingots. Then we need 6 constructors making rods for rotors and screws with a total output of 90 rods per minute. Then we need to divert about 60 rods per minute into 6 constructors making 40 screws from 10 rods each, with a total output of 240 screws per minute. About 80 screws a minute need to be diverted to the assemblers making reinforced iron plates, with the remainder diverted to rotor screws. Even after all of this, we have barely scratched the surface of what's possible in Satisfactory. I mean, here we are, building an assembly plant for smart plating with bare-bones equipment in a field, and I haven't even talked about electricity. We're still burning biomass and leaves for power, and we're still pretty much in the tutorial. Satisfactory will continue to exceed your expectations from this point on, and doubt it as much as you want. It will draw you in with its amazing world building, ambiance, and sense of serenity, incredibly fitting soundtrack, immersive and highly detailed and diverse biomes and nature, and it will draw you in with a system ideal for teaching players how to solve problems creatively and how to adapt and conquer difficult environments all on their own, how things are made in the real world, and how and why different resources are important to maintaining and growing a technologically proficient civilization. While most of the blatant examples of manufacturing in Satisfactory are highly advanced and have a heavy emphasis on robotic automation, it's not crazy to assume that we may be living in a universe where technology like this may be the foundation for a future interplanetary human empire. If it's on sale on Steam, and even if you've never played video games before, but really want an interesting and challenging way to spend the weekend, and you want to improve problem solving and planning skills, give it a shot. You might be surprised and find yourself spending countless hours grinding for a commemorative Employee of the Planet mug. Anyway, that's all I have to say, so go automate some things, stay efficient, explore your creativity, and to you, my sincerest welcome to Satisfactory.
Okay, so I'm sorry this video took like a month and a half. Anyway, for everybody that's still watching, I made a little thingy for you. If you like Satisfactory a lot, you'll probably like this. So without further ado, here is 5.5 hours of my life I will never get back.
Humans have used modular components in construction since the 1950s. Made possible by assembly lines, modular construction and manufacturing was cheaper than traditional methods, as fewer materials were used and the quality of parts was much more consistent. Trucks and radar towers and other high-tech machinery require building materials that are durable, structurally sound, and cost-effective. The use of heavy modular frames in construction ensures the longevity of equipment vital to maintaining efficient logistics systems. To make heavy modular frames, this factory starts with iron plates delivered to the main floor through a conveyor system. After they arrive, the plates are bolted together in an assembler array and then formed around iron rods. The rods are then welded together by a powerful arc welder to produce a rudimentary metal frame. The iron rods are also machined into screws, which are an important part of the final assembly. In another part of the factory, raw steel is formed into I-beams and thick steel pipes. The steel beams are placed in housings, where concrete is poured into the molds and compressed around the steel beams. The encased beams, as well as the screws and steel pipes, are brought to the manufacturer array at the top floor of the factory. The encased beams are formed around each of the sections of the frame and finally secured in place with steel pipes. After the heavy modular frames are complete, each individual frame is tested for resilience and durability by a trained professional.